Please welcome to the stage Andrew Lee, Head of Sustainability and Impact Investing, Chief Investment Office America, UBS Global Wealth Management.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you here today. We're really thrilled to be part of this conversation. My name is Andrew Lee, and I lead Sustainable and Impact Investing in the Chief Investment Office for UBS Global Wealth Management. I'd like to spend the next few minutes talking about the role that UBS and other global financial institutions can and do play in driving the change that we all want to see in the world. I know, some of you are thinking, great, the finance guy, what's a bank doing as part of this conversation? Time for a bathroom break, or maybe I'll check Instagram to see what's being posted backstage. But that's exactly the perception, or perhaps the misperception, that I'd like to see if I can change in our time together. Yes, financial institutions aren't necessarily the first players that you think of when you say social good or positive impact. It's understandable. After all, we're just a decade removed from the financial crisis. But from where I sit, these are outdated views. I'll give you a few examples of the things that we do that I think are exciting and transformative and might surprise you. We aim to be a thought leader, an enabler, and a driver of positive change. I hope you'll leave here today with a different perspective and see why financial institutions like ours are well positioned to help drive our collective efforts to shape a better future. I'll focus my comments around UBS because that's what I know. I know what we've done, I know what motivates us, I know what our vision is and what we're trying to do. Just 20 seconds for context for those of you who don't know. We're a truly global financial services firm. We have 61,000 employees across 51 countries. We work with corporate, institutional, and individual clients on advice, investments, and philanthropy, and more. What we do fundamentally for our clients is partner with them to help them achieve their short and long-term objectives. And increasingly today, those objectives are more than just financial in nature. In order to deliver against those goals, we've worked hard to develop our internal capabilities. We have on staff the former executive director of the UNPRI. We have PhDs with expertise in climate and impact measurement. We have philanthropy experts, and we have our own internal financial expertise. That might surprise you. Most importantly, there are 4 key things that I think we bring to the table that position us to be a change driver. We understand what our clients care about and want to achieve. We have the financial and structuring expertise needed for innovation. We have a global perspective on the investment and philanthropic landscape and where there are real gaps. And finally, we have a global platform that really we use to convene people and capital, both physical and leveraging technology. So these things together allow us to see where funding is needed, where the clients care about issues but can't action on them, and the entrepreneurs with great ideas, and we connect them all. So let's talk about a few ideas. I'll start in the investment world, where we're excited about the potential for scale. Cancer touches all of us. It's still one of the leading causes of death globally, with an estimated 22 million new cases of cancer annually by the year 2030. There's amazing work being done, but there's a severe funding gap in translational research, or what's known as the valley of death, between basic science discoveries and clinical trials. We saw this gap and addressed it by creating a venture impact fund that raised nearly $500 million from our clients, the largest of its kind. We also made sure that some of our success fees from our partner would be donated to research and treatment in developing markets. So that's impact through the investments themselves and further through philanthropic dollars if it's successful. Early days, but so far, the fund's performance means it's already donated $2.5 million to the American Association for Cancer Research and our own Optimus Foundation. Not perhaps where you might have expected UBS to be involved. Another example, if you're familiar with the development work done by the World Bank, the Asia Development Bank, and their peers, we wanted to open up private capital as an additional source of funding for these institutions. So we went out and partnered with them, creating indices to facilitate investment in bonds of these banks, and creating fund vehicles that allow individuals like you and me to own these bonds. That's a win-win. Private investors like you and I can own high-quality bonds that fund impactful projects around the world, and development banks get a fresh capital source. Again, willing and interested capital on one side, and projects for social good on the other side. How can we collectively be asking more questions like this about how banks can create innovative bridges between the two? And let's talk about that impact. It's hard to measure, we know that. It's sector specific, there's cost associated with it. We have to think about actual impact instead of just outputs. But our asset management team's working to unlock academia at Harvard and CUNY to advance impact measurement in areas like climate, food, health, and water, to help investors and companies understand what they actually do. It's a great example of creating unexpected partnerships to change the paradigm of what we do to do good and how we measure it. So that's investments. Ultimately, we're trying to drive capital at scale into investments that should perform and be good for people on the planet by offering fully sustainable portfolios and impactful investments like these. Some might question whether you have to give up return to do so. Our stance is firmly that you don't. In fact, we think that those who don't incorporate sustainability considerations are the ones that are investing irresponsibly. 82% of the high net worth investors that we survey agree that you shouldn't have to give up return to do good. So if people raise the question to you, tell them that they're in the minority. Philanthropy. Not all social good can generate returns appropriate for investment portfolios. In fact, there's an acute need for catalytic and philanthropic capital. Just as I talked about changing the paradigm in investments, we're driving change through innovative social finance with our Optimist Foundation and philanthropic teams. What we do is structure innovative programs with outcome funders and organizations on the front line, focusing on achieving outcomes so that we can provide the proof points that really scale these programs larger if we can attract new types of capital that are looking for results. Our primary focus is on children's health, education, protection, and early development globally. 3 years ago, we designed and launched the first ever development impact bond focused on school enrollment of girls in remote Rajasthan. These are pay-for-success structures where we put up risk capital to prove out the case, and we only get paid back if results are achieved. Our partner ended up delivering those results, so we were paid back. But most importantly, it provided us with proof of concept and learnings so that we could repeat at greater scale. So just 2 weeks ago, we launched the largest ever education-focused development impact bond focused on improving the quality of education more broadly in India. Similar structure, high-quality list of partners. This time, the objective is to improve literacy and numeracy skills for more than 300,000 children and transform how education is funded and delivered in India. This is just one example of what we do at the Optimist Foundation. In aggregate, more than 2 million children worldwide last year were beneficiaries of our interventions, more than half related to disease and about 20% from learning outcomes. We have ongoing projects in many other areas where we partner with clients on new programs and initiatives. Autism and human trafficking are 2 live examples. And let me just turn finally to entrepreneurship. Female entrepreneurs and founders received less than 6% of the $85 billion of venture funding delivered last year, despite starting companies at 1.5 times the rate of men. Why shouldn't women have the same access to capital, resources, and networks as men? We felt and continue to feel that it's important to try to change that paradigm. Together with the Rent the One Way Foundation, we created an initiative called Project Entrepreneur. It's part of our broader efforts to support entrepreneurship. The objective is really to empower female founders by providing access to the right tools, training, and networks. And just in the last 3 years, we've trained more than 1,600 aspiring female entrepreneurs in the US through an accelerator program, digital tools, and more. Some cool examples include employee-sponsored learning, technology to sense foodborne illnesses in food service establishments, and more. It's an incredible program, and we're happy to support female entrepreneurs. More broadly, we've established a program called Global Visionaries to support and broaden the reach of disruptive entrepreneurs. We believe that great ideas to drive positive change can't succeed without capital, and vice versa. Our vision was to further amplify founders' voices, provide mentorship, and direct exposure to our global client base. Zubaida Bai is here, and you'll hear from her directly later today. Some of the ideas we support include reduction of restaurant food wastage, mini-grids to accelerate rural electrification, and low-cost healthcare products for women and girls. We want to drive awareness and funding and partnerships for these founders. Again, simple things that we can activate in support of good. So these are just a few examples of the initiatives that we're pursuing across our business areas. Whether it's inequality or health or food security, we see the global challenges facing us as opportunities. We know our clients care about these issues too. We see our role as the change agent innovating to build bridges between the two. As you've heard, we do this differently in each of our business areas, but the common thread is that we mobilize capital, partnerships, and individuals to make a difference. Here's my call to action. You've heard our vision and some of the impactful ideas that we've brought to reality. If your bank isn't engaging with you around what they're doing in this space and asking you what you care about, ask them the question. Get them involved if they aren't already. There's no way that we can meet the SDG funding gaps if we're not all working hand in hand. I hope I've given you a small glimpse of how we see the future at UBS and how we're innovating to drive change towards that vision. Whatever you're doing in support of positive impact, think of us as a collaborator, an enabler, an investor, and a partner. Let's partner together to drive change that matters. Thank you.